one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. Broke Boy Crypto here with you. A little bit broker today, temporarily anyway, but Crypto Ewok here with me as well for the Creed of Crypto. Figured we would do it a pop-up stream today, just based on obviously the news that we saw come out with Richard Hart yesterday. Talk PulseChain, liven up the crew a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of different things going on. A lot of people talking in and out of turn, I think, on Twitter the last couple of days that we're seeing, which is always entertaining. And also interesting that some of this stuff, this Interpool stuff and everything came out like last night, like on a Saturday evening while we're hanging out with family, trying to watch college football. And hey, what's up with this? Welcome everybody in. I can't see the chat with my setup right now, so if there's anything you happen to see, I don't know how many we'll get here with doing this midday on a Sunday, but we both had some time, so figured what the hell. What are you thinking about all this, Ewok? I mean, we'll kind of set it up and everything. We don't have to do this like a normal show, but
I mean, a lot of this news has been out for months, since July, maybe, I think. And I don't know what happened that it changed it. I mean, I haven't seen anything new that wasn't already announced June, July, whenever it was. I don't remember. But I have a feeling that some of the Bitcoin influencers or whoever started passing it around. And that's why now it's all of a sudden big news, right? So nothing new. Same old FUD. Again, it's just, I think, it got passed around by some people, that it caught some traction, and here we go. Some free advertising.
Yeah, basically. And I think you hit the nail on the head. So obviously, if you're living under a rock and invested in the PulseChain ecosystem, so news came out that, what's it actually called? A red label on Interpool for Richard Hart, like the actual designation of it. It's like red,
don't know, red flag or red something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but essentially, for the alleged crimes in Finland of basically not paying taxes and some sort of assault, which again, we read this months back in a very I don't know if it was purposely shittily written, but a very crappily written article by somebody that allegedly happened 3 or 4, February 2021 or something like that. Yeah. And like you said, it is old news that we had heard about before. That is, I guess, what's news, if anything, is that Interpol officially put him on this list or whatever. And again, like you said, a lot of Bitcoin maxis and mainstream crypto people that need to engagement farm and do airdrops and create coins and shit like that are tweeting about it like they always do when anything happens that they perceive to be negative with this ecosystem. They don't really ever follow the ecosystem. Red notice, okay. They don't really follow the ecosystem or know of anything going on within it. It's just whenever there's news like this, like when the SEC thing dropped. You and I were discussing this earlier. For anybody that was around whatever that was, July 31st of 23. When the SEC lawsuit came down, all of a sudden, Mario Narwhal or whatever his name is, and all these other people that are on Twitter Spaces all day, every day, get together and well, there's a DOJ charge coming from there. And what I can tell you from my experience, everybody becomes an expert. In dealings when shit like this happens. Now, this is not to belittle. I think we can comfortably belittle these actions. Of course, it's just bullshit. As Tate would say, matrix type stuff. I'm not belittling like some people being like, oh my God, like my bags are down. What's going to happen here? I do understand that. We've been talking about that a lot today, but like, in terms of the reporting of the quote unquote news, it's kind of same old with these mainstream crypto people. So what are you seeing out there, you all?
Well, yeah, again, it's a bunch of Bitcoin maxis. I'm seeing people, Max Kaiser's wife. Like, who is this lady? What the hell? And why is she posting it? Like, it's just a bunch of noise as far as I'm concerned. We've been dealing with FUD, Richards this or Richards that since the early days. And the one thing that I can honestly say, this is all opinion. Again, most of this is speculation. None of this, because nobody's made announcements, other than what we've seen online. We don't really know what's happening. We don't know why Finland wants tax money. What if it's not from Finland? What if it's in a trust somewhere? So do they even have a right to ask for it? Or I'm sure his lawyers have already been involved, or I'm sure he has them being advised or whatever. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is, again, it's just noise. As far as I see it, is free advertisement. There are going to be people out there that get worried about their investments. Rightfully so. I get it. Completely get it. But at the same time, there's also going to be the haters that only come out of the woodwork when something bad happens. Like when we go up hundreds of percent, thousands of percent, whatever, multiple X's, they're quiet. They're really quiet. So they come out of the woodwork to kind of say, I told you so. And only then and only then do they make an appearance. And, I feel like, so I'm torn. I feel like a lot of them should be just blocked. Because there's a lot of engagement farming. They know how active this community is. They know how passionate we are about the things, and a lot of it does get engagement. And obviously, a lot of them get paid to put stuff on X or wherever it may be. So there's that. The second part is, okay, now we are talking free advertisement. Do we, stand by and just comment these things? And like argue back? Well, some people do it in a strategic way. Some people just are being like, you're an asshole. We don't care. So that turns people off too. So you got to kind of be careful how we do interact with some of these people, because again, it is free marketing. People may catch a glimpse of this that didn't know about it before or whatever. And if they do enough research and look into it, well, they'll realize that this is completely decentralized. There is no shutting it off, no matter what happens to Richard. Again, I'm sure he's taking the right steps. I'm sure his lawyers are involved, whatever it may be. But if he does get picked up, for example, and gets thrown in jail until he gets a hearing or whatever, it's not going to stop anything. The only thing that's going to stop is him tweeting, essentially, because he's not live streaming anyway. We're waiting for another decision. I don't think that'll affect it because it's a totally different, jurisdiction, whatever. And there's another word, jurisdiction. Like, who's got jurisdiction on this? And, there's just a lot of questions, right? I mean, everybody at this point, it's all speculation. There's been no announcements made, nothing like that. So, that's where I'm at with it. You gotta kind of take it as the free advertising that it is. If we believe, then we stand by our decision to invest in this and, stick up for it. There are going to be people that probably FUD. I saw some major cells already that caused some of these red candles and have gotten out because they were shaken. I get it. So, either you believe or you don't. It's one of those. It's one or the other.
Yeah, and to kind of acknowledge that point, like I don't forget who it was, but it was actually a Twitter comment, but somebody earlier that, this is an emergency stream. Boy, we're fucked, aren't we? And stuff. I don't know what the sentiment of that is, but like for some of the people, like, again, I do understand people that invest within the ecosystem being stressed by it, that maybe have not been accustomed to getting news or FUD or whatever you want to call it. Like, again, with the SEC thing, whenever that came down, like that was a day, like people got scared that day, you know. And obviously, as you zoom out and get past it, you realize like the SEC is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like they're just an unelected government agency that everybody hates. And like here we are over a year, about a year and a half since that suit came down, and their house is their clock's being cleaned, their house is being cleaned. Gary Gensler's gone in a matter of weeks. You know, it's bullshit, you know. Now, I'm not saying that like other countries and Interpol and stuff like that is bullshit when this happens, but you look at like them putting this red notice on Richard Hart, you look at like the other names and why they're on that list and things like that. So you got, okay, potential like tax evasion, which that's their claim, you know, it's not proven tax evasion or that you're owed any of that money or anything. And then some kind of assault that there's a couple details of in 2021. And everybody seems to be, and I'm not trying to get into the particulars of it, but as long as other people are without proof, why not? But there's people that, so he's beating a 16-year-old girl when there's nothing about it being a female anywhere in anything. You know, I think it said that like something by their hair or something like that. It could be. I was thinking about this. You know, if we're talking about a small statured person with long hair, what if it's Maria Rael or whatever?
Yeah, maybe. Right.
Who knows? Maybe they got in a tussle one night, and maybe.
Well, to your point, you know, you look at that list of all the most wanted people, and it's like that little game of one of these is not like the others,
right?
And you know, it's just kind of funny how you mix that in there. Now, I mean, I guess tax evasion can be a serious thing, unless you believe that taxation's theft anyway. So which is it? You know, a lot of these people that post all this stuff about Richard, you know, they're supposed to be like, they think taxation's theft, and now you see them doing this. So they talk out of both sides of their mouth. You know, and I think I had noticed someone had said something about that assault charge or whatever the charge actually is the only reason they're bringing it up is because, you know, in another several months, the statute of limitation is gone. So that's the only reason it's being brought up and kind of bundled into this, which is completely plausible. Again, remember, all this stuff is speculation. Nobody has heard facts. Nobody's been, you know, brought to with lawyers or anything like that. So yeah,
the main account's having a field day with it is just something to be expected. And to your point earlier about like should PulseChain people or Hex people like be chiming in the comments, I mean, I do think it's good to have, obviously you're going to have like people who, any field has people who like aren't very good speakers and are just saying like, you know, fuck you, blah, 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 you know, that aren't really adding anything to the conversation. But there's plenty of people out there. Like I saw Johnny Chaos ratioing somebody and speaking on it the right way. Obviously Hexologist out there doing what he does and stuff like that. I think Sami's been doing it. I mean, I think it's all good that those people are out there doing that. And a lot of those accounts are just getting ratioed. Like that altcoin Gordon guy, all he does is try to bait people all the time on Twitter. Like he's done Richard Hart and Hex before. And like, and a great point that you just made, all of these people presumably are 100, well, maybe not 100, but mostly behind Donald Trump and are in agreement that, you know, all these, you know, erroneous lawsuits and things like that have been thrown at him are just attempts to, man, somebody said it perfectly in a tweet that I sent you, but just how, you know, bureaucrats and stuff like that use other systems to try to take somebody down for something because they can't actually do anything for what they're alleging the person is doing. I mean, they can't stop PulseChain, they can't stop Hex and stuff. And if you try to, you know, create financial revolution or something outside of their normal system, they're going to try to, yeah, it's just like Trump. It's like, well, 30 years ago, a woman said that, you know, it's just, people are getting sick of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and not to, you know, ignore or crap on anything that ever has really happened to somebody, obviously, in the past. But it's one of those things like, okay, oh, well, this person didn't bring it up until 30 years later. It's like nobody gives a shit anymore. And in terms of with politics, we all know that you all have done criminal acts, you know. So if we're comparing what Richard may or may not have done in his life compared to what some of these people, his accusers, have done that we know of, it's like,
well, you know, that doesn't always make it right, obviously. But K-Man brings up a good point here. If RH wasn't changing the game, he wouldn't have been noticed by the government. It's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what's going on. I feel like a lot of people are just threatened. They're threatened by what's being created. Not only that, they're pissed off because how many of those guys did he probably destroy in live chat with debates along the way? So they hold a grudge. You know, he's always called Hex the better Bitcoin. And they don't like that. There's anything that threatens their bags, they're going to be, very defensive about and say things. And when anybody's, in a position of superiority over them, they're going to try and take advantage of any little misstep that may happen or news to the, to the negative news anyway. So, yep, exactly. It's the Trump syndrome all over again. And I've heard a lot of people call him the Trump of crypto. So,
I don't know if you want to look at any of the tweets I sent you or what other angles we can look at this from. I don't really have like notes in front of me necessarily, but
I pulled them up. I have them all bookmarked here, or whichever ones you want to talk about.
Maybe we could just go to like a couple because Richard's tweeted like 2 or 3 times since then yesterday, and I will say, to get back to the idea of some people that are invested in the ecosystem that are worried about this or have got feel shaken out, whether you actually were shaken out and sold, which obviously I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's traditionally not a good idea to sell when everyone else is. But whether it's that or you're just kind of mentally shaken out, I do think it was really good of Richard to not like it's a company and an HR department, but get in front of this, so to speak, and be out there acknowledging it, mentioning that he's safe, which I thought was, we can talk about like a couple angles of, and just what he said here. So,
well, this is the first one that was tweeted last night at, a little 20 after 5 Eastern time. And, he says, my whole life I've been preparing for the future, anticipating it, creating it. I've never been safer, and I'm excited for the future. The Honorable Justice in the SEC versus me should have her ruling out soon. Donald Trump will be in office soon. PulseX, PulseChain, Hex, Incentive are all functioning wonderfully. This makes some entities mad, but there's literally nothing they can do about it except be mad. It feels great to be wanted. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come.
Yeah. And like he just said, and like somebody alluded to in the chat, if you're not doing this and having this big of an impact, are they even coming after you? So it feels good to be wanted. And what he just said and alluded to again about the SEC and how close that judgment may be, we've speculated about that. We're past what you would imagine is the halfway point until Carol, Auntie Carol, I guess. Yeah. Until she her ruling. If you assume a 90-day window, we're past halfway of that. And that's an angle we were, of course, going to look at this at. Has the SEC already heard through the grapevine, and I'm sure their attorneys and the people involved with them maybe even have more access to what the judge could be thinking and what's coming down quicker than Richard's attorneys would, just because they're not working directly within the government. Are they getting it floated to them? Look, we just had happen last week. We talked a whole bunch about all these Hex people being subpoenaed again. We just had $4 the getting subpoenaed again and stuff like that. Now this comes out tomorrow, literally Monday, December 23rd. Are we going to get news that at least partial of this case is dismissed? Maybe some is, but either way, not great news for the SEC. And that's why we're seeing this stuff happen now, or maybe quickly after the new year, and they're just stressed about it and trying to throw shit at the wall to see what sticks,
Right. This is a good comment here from Beyond All. It says, these allegations have fingerprints of the U.S. way of blackmailing someone. This is definitely the act of the losing SEC and the failing Biden administration trying to throw anything that can stick.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here. It's unfortunate that these things happen and then you see this big sell-off and everything. I mean, we basically, you and I were talking earlier, I mean, Pulse, for all intents and purposes, I mean, on the wick quickly yesterday, and who knows, it could even do it again. We've seen these things happen before, but if you would look at the weekly chart, which I'm not saying to pull that up yet, we can get to that in a minute, but basically like touched the lows again, practically. I mean, on a wick yesterday. But it's good to see this from Richard. And is this the next one? Is this a different one?
Yeah, this is the one from last night.
Go ahead.
About 3 hours later.
Just pick it anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'll read through it. It says, if the haters really wanted to get me down, they could raise more than the 27 million I did for medical research, write free self-help books better than my sci-fi and fix the world, work in the courts for legal precedent for P2P publishing software, found things that work flawlessly and become valuable, install bidets for their mothers. That's kind of funny. Nothing makes the haters angrier than success. Every time they think of you, it reminds them of how they're not doing half of what they could. They let themselves down. They let their families down. It's easier for them to tear down others than to rise up themselves. Hate is a poor substitute for progress. Why settle for being wanted when you can be the most wanted? Then he goes on to say, I really do the best I can to make the world a better place. He's been saying that forever. And I must say the world can be pretty unkind to folks making a difference. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Win is in my name and winning is in my blood. Think about how much we've accomplished. And it seems like someone up above must want it to happen. There's too much serial success for it to be an accident.
Well said. Cool. When you see something like that, I mean, what more do you want out of a leader? You know, and
right.
For all these people like, well, he's running away, he's on the run. I mean, I understand the guy hasn't been on video and he's been careful with his words, actually not even always careful, but you know, through this whole thing, you know, including the stream last Christmas, whenever the lawsuit had already been filed by the SEC. I don't know what else more you could ask for when there's these kind of attacks happening, you know, comments like that. And I sorry if I messed up which tweet is which, but whenever he indicates like, hey, I'm safer, I thought it sounded very Trumpish, like I'm safer than I've ever been, you know, or something like that. What do you think? Because I saw somebody tweet this, and I think they're probably right. When he said that, like, what did you take that to mean? Like, obviously not that he's in, you know, physical danger, but I saw that somebody said, this says to me that he's not under like European jurisdiction, and in other words, don't take this shit seriously. It's just a headline, you know?
Right. Well, it means a couple things to me. When he says he's safe, it means, well, to me, I think he's planned ahead. I think he's probably planned ahead for all of this. I'm sure, you know, he's talked to lawyers. I'm sure he's planned out, you know, so the tax evasion thing is what I believe all in retrospect of the sacrifice addresses, right? All the money that was collected in the sacrifice addresses is the only thing that I can think of that would warrant any kind of hundreds of millions of dollars of taxes. It's the only thing that's that public or whatever. You know, and this is something we talked about on a show not that long ago when we were talking about the post in that the website where it was talking about trusts, bulletproof trusts, and things like that. My guess is that the sacrifice wallets are in a trust in the Cayman Islands or wherever. So again, it does go back, and I said this a little bit earlier, goes to jurisdiction. So yeah, that's one of the things I thought. I also thought, well, maybe he's in a country that they can't extradite for, or that they don't know where he's at, whatever. You know, that goes to, well, he's on the run, and that can't be good because guilty people are usually the ones on the run. So there is that. But maybe he's letting it play out. Maybe his lawyers have told him to just, you know, don't come forward. Why would you do something stupid like that? We're taking care of this. And in the meantime, stay put. Don't do anything stupid. You know what I mean? So again, I'm sure it goes back to when I hear he's safe. it means he's not in any danger right now. He's probably looked way ahead, planned for this, and as far as that goes, it'll take someone to say, well, first of all, you don't have jurisdiction over this. It's not under Richard's name. It's in a trust that is in a completely different country, not yours, and you have no right to it. So that's that. I mean, and I think it's as simple as that, because even Judge Carroll, where does the blockchain live? Well,
Yeah.
you can't prove it, right? Whether he has access to it or not, if it's located in a trust that is registered in another country or somewhere else, there's really not much they can do about it. So there's been no proof of him spending any of it. So it's not like he's blowing the money on stuff to say, well, yeah, but you do have access because you've spent it, right? You've done this with it. You bought cars and jewelry and things like that with it. That's not the case. So
right.
I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind when he said, I'm safe, was that there's really not a concern of his, where even if they do pick him up, if he has to spend the night or two in a pokey, well, they did the same thing with Andrew Tate. He made his location very well known. Everybody knew where the Tates lived. I mean, that was no secret. So they just drove by and knocked on the door. Nobody's they still never served him. So, he may not even be in, what was it, Finland is where they claimed that he was. It's possible that he had an address there, but maybe that's not where he lives. So, there's a lot of things that go into play here. And
sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
No,
you're good.
That's the other thing too about people that are so panicked about, what's going to happen to him? What's going to happen to him down the road? What if they pick him up? Like, that's the whole reason. Now, I understand that, Richard has criticized Satoshi for like running away or never being known and stuff like that. But that's also why Richard.
That's why he did it. That's why Satoshi did it.
Yeah. And that's
Go ahead.
Funny comment yesterday that we talked about was somebody saying like, oh, now I know why Satoshi was anonymous, because this is what happened. They could, who knows where they'll stop with the guy. But that's also why Richard isn't necessarily needed. I mean, he isn't. These things operate otherwise. That's the thing. Hex is the contract. It's the contract. It's on the blockchain. That's what it does. PulseX has the buy and burn. It's built in there. It is what it is. There's an existing blockchain. It's already been delivered. So, I mean, for the panic about like what's going to happen to Richard and everything, I mean, I don't want to say I don't care, because I don't want that to happen to the guy. And obviously you want the principles that you believe in to prevail and for people to keep fighting like Richard is and stuff like that. But these are products on the blockchain. Like, that's also something that you have to remember. It's almost like if a government policy that you're a fan of was implemented and it is law and that's what's happening, but the guy that you like isn't streaming all the time or something. I mean, it's just like the products are there, the principles are there. I mean, still, what would you do? You talked about this earlier today too, for people that are upset right now or stressing about it. What actually would your plan be? Like, I understand venting, being frustrated by this, wishing it was a smoother ride and stuff, but literally right now, like with how much you know about this ecosystem compared to other ones and how it operates kind of bottom to top instead of top to bottom, where everybody gets dumped on their heads and things everywhere else, what would you literally do right now? Obviously, there are people that have sold. We see that in the price over the last 24 hours, and who knows, they may be whales, maybe they're better off in life, whatever. But what would your plan be to do right now? Like, are you going to go buy Polygon or I don't know, Solana, which is clearly kind of topped for a while? Or,
well, I've heard good things about Fartcoin. Maybe they should go over there.
Yeah, buy the top of Fartcoin, although there is a Fartcoin. Maybe you should buy that one. But I mean, it's just you basically, so here's your choices, okay? And we've talked about this so many times, but here's another prism to talk about it through today. You've got this choice where we are right now, where this stuff is decentralized and everybody's gunning for you and hates you, and the price looks heinous half the time, and you're gate kept and shit on and all these things, okay? But you're not being dumped on by VC insider people that have gotten, we just saw the Aptos guy, which was obviously just a scam blockchain that launched like a year ago.
Yeah.
We just saw that guy like cash out and leave. Like, he just left,
I'm done.
Yeah. And dump his tokens. This is the inverse of that. So you've got, dirty, not sanitized public consumption, real crypto PulseChain here. Or you've got shadowy guys in suits, that from legacy finance that bought, Aptos or Solana at 0.0002, and then it launches at $1, and they're like, oh, okay, let's sell this shit. I mean, so you got that silent killer, or this fucking roller coaster that we're on right now, which, I agree, is not always a fun roller coaster, but
lots of dips, man, lots of dips, lots of valleys. And the other thing you brought up, the stuff on the blockchain, how it's locked code for Hex. You brought the buy and burn for the PulseX. People forget that PulseChain is in, I forget how many countries, but about 40 or 50,000 validators that can't be turned off either. So, there's just so many positive things. And, we talk about it all the time when things are inconvenient, when things sometimes look the worst. It truly is the best time to be involved, because, man, the belief that we have anyway, it's opportunity, right? A lot of these make opportunity for some of the gains that once we do come out the other side of this, hoping that we do. Obviously, there's no guarantee, but you and I were talking earlier too. If something were to happen to Richard, again, the only thing we're not getting are the tweets and that engagement, but it almost makes him like a martyr. And I feel like the community and the community that he's built essentially all step in and pick up the slack. I think it just, it proves to be so strong. Now, some of these people I wouldn't want running my company, but obviously there are some superior ones, some very influential ones that would definitely pick up and carry the torch. I think there are many that could do it. So, yeah, I mean, again, it reminds me a lot of the early FUD that we saw in the beginning, day 30, 40, where, people were just shitting on it left and right. And we took a lot of abuse and it hasn't stopped, seriously. So
that's an interesting question. And maybe it's not even worth a discussion, but whatever, we'll have it. Is like, because there's a lot of people, this isn't just Hex anymore. I mean, obviously we've got PulseChain, PulseX, so we've got a new ecosystem that's been around for over a year and a half now. And a lot of the people that are in this ecosystem were not, like, maybe the majority at this point really were not like OG Hexicans and just bought Hex and whatever. Like, many people were at a time now where people just like found out about PulseChain after it's launched at this point, whatever. I don't know when, like, Shill Gates is a popular guy right now, when he first knew of it or when he first got into it and stuff, but we are getting a lot of that now. And I am curious to ask you, we were discussing earlier, like, the last year, July 31st, when the SEC lawsuit came down, up to this shit now, for people that were not Hex OGs, that didn't experience, like you said, the day 40 stuff. I saw Crypto Coffee talking about that earlier. Is this worse in your opinion, or is it just equal? Because I said to you, having not experienced the initial Hex FUD back in the day, this seems, I mean, this is pretty big league FUD. I mean, over this last year and a half, or whether you want to call it FUD or just the dramatics that we've seen of all this and holding through it. How do you kind of compare the two? I think either way, I'm not having a discussion of like whether you've earned your stripes in crypto or not, if you've through this, but how do you compare the two? Just how we've been over this last year compared to those early Hex days?
So the early days, a lot of the FUD was Richard is a scammer and he's taking your money. That was the FUD. A lot of that, these people were coming out and saying, he's not a good guy. He's taking your money. He's he's going to take all your ETH and give you this meaningless shit and run off with it. So that was the FUD then. Well, clearly that didn't happen. We've seen what he's done along the way. We've, a lot of us got to watch a lot of his stuff before that, and any kind of person that has any judge of character would know that the things that he says, a lot of it, I mean, I'm sure scammers will all tell you that they're a good person, right? But a lot of the things that we've seen along the way, he's backed a lot of them up. There's been a lot of things that he's said he was going to do, and he's done. So, that whole FUD is different than now. There are other things that are basically, I don't want to say out of his control. So it does rely on a lot of external type situations. So it's completely different as far as I'm concerned. The ones that stuck through the he's going to take your money stuff, either they believed or they didn't. And there were a lot of people that got out because they listened to that nonsense, and then they missed out on, obviously the 10,000x type gains that happened the first cycle. They didn't miss out on the massive 99% dip that we saw after that. But again, that wasn't caused by Richard. That was caused by everyone taking profits. So, it's hard to compare the two. It really is. It's a completely different type of FUD. Now you have, again, external things that are coming into play where, just knowing how intelligent he is, how often that he's been several steps ahead. I have to believe that he's planned for this. He knew eventually that they would probably come after him for some sort of monetary something, with profits or the spending. I'm surprised that whatever country he was buying the cars in didn't come out then and say tax evasion, or whatever it was at that point. So it's surprising, or maybe they did, and maybe it just finally came out. I don't know. Again, this story's been out for a while, but anyway, to your answer your original question is I really don't compare them because they're completely different circumstances. Nobody at this point is saying he's going to take your money, because we've all invested, in our belief, and we've gotten the products that were all released that we invested in. So, all of that is, he's not going to follow through. He's not going to do this. He's done all of that. So again, I don't think it really compares. It's just it's at a different level of FUD now.
Well, wouldn't he have taken the money already? Like traditionally, you don't let a 10,000x happen. Have that end up retracing, then create a blockchain, a DEX,
right.
Things. Spend money on Elon Musk attorneys, fight that. You know what I mean? Like that's typically not the path of the Mashinsky or the Quan or these other actual fucking criminals that actually created middleman platforms that have nothing to do with crypto. Like that. That's what this stuff about these Bitcoin maxis that don't know shit about crypto, that are just out here talking about that are constantly dealing with things on exchanges. They want nothing to do with actual DeFi, actual crypto. They don't even understand it. I'm convinced that they don't understand it. Like they're just TradFi bros that are dabbling in what they think is crypto, buying stuff on exchanges, buying memes late whenever they get on exchanges and stuff like that. They don't know anything about what actual crypto is. Just the fact that they think that RH actually is a scammer and haven't ever looked into anything tells me. I mean, it's sad that it is that way, but it is. I mean, again, like you said, the things that are harder to get into and take higher risk, those are the people that actually end up benefiting. So,
yep. Well, that, and again, you brought it up. The ethos of what crypto was invented for has really gone to the wayside.
Yes.
Removing.
Let me just to that point. You steered me to that Roger Ver interview with Tucker Carlson. Didn't he say that entire interview, that this new co-opted Bitcoin? That's what he kept talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it was invented to get rid of middlemen, and now middlemen have weaseled their way back in. You've got ETFs and things like that, where this is, I mean, there's all kind of middlemen. Now you're buying shit where somebody else is holding it, and it's not really even Bitcoin. It's an ETF. I don't know. I mean, we're just so far away from what it was intentionally designed to do that it's kind of lost its initial ideals, I guess. And Richard's trying to bring those back, and I feel like the powers that be are like, God damn it, we just got our claws into it, and here we go again. Now we've got to infiltrate this one. So I kind of feel like that's what's happening. And again, the powers that be don't like it when their systems get disrupted. The central banks especially. When anything threatens it, not that Hex is going to threaten the central banks anytime soon, but down the road it could. It very well could, and potentially they see that. So again, I just I feel like we're made targets because of the ideals that he's created, and it's unfortunate, but if you really believe in that type of stuff, the freedom, the sovereignty, the right, the freedom of movement, the freedom of speech, which is, how you spend your money, what you do, the right to privacy, all those type of things, man, government doesn't like it.
Yeah. How about from this perspective? And I'm just minimizing, I'm bringing up Twitter in the background. That's why my video's gone. But, this perspective of what you're doing investment wise right now, like obviously a bunch of people sold off yesterday and we know all that. And if you look at the weekly chart, it pretty much seems like, it retouched the lows on a wick and stuff like that. But basically the ability to hold right now and just realizing that holding is, I mean, I don't want to say it's as good as buying. Obviously, if you would have dry powder, the few of us that actually still do at this point, it'd be great to ape it into that. But having the fortitude to be able to hold right now. You okay? Sorry. Just having the ability to hold right now is paramount, like being able to do that. And I know it's hard. It's tough to sit on your hands, watch the investments go down. It's especially hard if you're like us that have all the confidence in the world and you're like, I'm going to double down. I'm going to buy as much as I can. And you're like fresh out of powder, obviously. But yeah, just talk about that. If you want to look at the pulse chart just real quick, I may have to wrap up here shortly, but if you want to look at it real quick or just talk about from our perspective and just seeing the chart go down and that feeling bad and how we might approach buying at these levels and stuff. How do you feel about that?
Well, but first, did you see the tweet that was like, I don't know, an hour ago?
No. Is it about the PulseX buy and burn? I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that or not, or took anything out of that, or if it was just a random. I don't see anything crazy from that. Satoshi's vision wasn't everyone giving their keys to middlemen. I think that was, the point of his tweet. But yeah, well, let's take a look at the. Let's go to here. Let's take a look at the chart. We'll just pull up PulseChain for now. And
okay. Yeah, I did see that tweet. Yeah, just basically hyping up PulseX. I mean, I think he seems to be feeling pretty much fine about everything. So
yeah. So what I'm seeing yesterday, obviously we had let's measure this because it went, it was only 40%, 41% pullback, which I say only, but then it retraced 20% fairly immediately, even before the next daily candle started. That then went on up to the majority of it back up to the 406256, and it's pulled back since down to the 405267 right now. It looks like 5275. So yeah, I mean, it was immediately bought up. I do have some dry powder, and I was hoping that a lot of people hadn't heard this yet. I was waiting another day or so to
Right.
let it fully settle, but it looks like a lot of people just bought it right away. So they weren't even giving it that full time. I had some money sitting on a stable pool that I was going to pull out, and I was saving it for a rainy day, and I was kind of thinking this one might be it, but
it's raining.
Yeah, I mean,
it's raining today.
It is raining. It is raining. But again, the clouds kind of went away pretty quickly as far as I can see. Now, again, it did get bought back up and then immediately sold back down. So, we may be in for this level here for a short time of bouncing back and forth. There was some action, not a whole lot, but back in September, these levels were kind of interesting. They were definite rejection levels here back in November too. So, we'll see how this all plays out in the next couple of days. My feeling was that a lot of people may not hear about this right away. Not everybody's on X every day and whatnot, but I think there could be some still cascading effects coming within the next couple of days. Where we could see this bounce around a little bit, but I am pleased that we didn't get anywhere near the lows back in the 403 area. It touched the 4.2, like I said, and kind of rejected pretty quickly. So good to see that support anyway.
Yeah, and Anchovy says in the chat, handsome chart, green again. Yeah, I mean, it did just hit that level of support. You can still see the uptrend and everything. And, here's the difference, too. I heard somebody mention this. With the SEC lawsuit being filed, that was in the midst of 2023. Like, things were not in an overall macro super bullish uptrend yet. So we saw Pulse go to lows over that time. Now, we did see Pulse retouch it earlier this year, a couple of months ago. But now we're in an overall bull trend, so I wouldn't want to be caught selling at these levels and on news or be messing around or shorting anything anywhere. It's just not traditional practice,
Well, somebody said, Stephen here, price action on PulseX is massive. Had to increase my slippage to buy more. Apparently it's, things are moving pretty quickly. So that is a good call. If you are trying to get in quickly at certain levels, don't forget to, increase the slippage a little bit. Don't go too crazy, or you'll probably get met with some bots that are in there taking advantage. So be careful of it at least. But and Archie also says, in some ways, getting the Jeters out now is better for us, which I agree with. You are going to get some non-believers out. Is this the final capitulation, the final washout of the lettuce hands? Could very well be. So, we can always hope for that, man. The more people that get out at some of these low levels, they're not there. They're not solid. They don't believe in it fully. They only bought it because someone told them to. Those type of situations, and they're the ones that are going to take profit at 5x and hurt it later. So better they're out now.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about over the course of this entire blockchain's existence. Is like when people are selling at those lower levels before we go up later on, it's best to just get it out of the way now. And here's the thing. I mean, this is short-term price action. Like, this is something that happened on a big candle over the course of a day. 1 year from now, or even 6 months from now, wherever this chart is, I think is likely where it's going to be, regardless of this happened on this day or not. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, that's the whole point of when in doubt, zoom out. I mean, that's literally why people say that, because things eventually end up to where they're going to be, regardless of intraday trading. That's Frank Molina talks about that all the time. And whenever we've had him on the channel, he talks about that. I mean, the chart is going to be where it's going to be at some point next year, whether this little thing happened here today or not, and as people have said, show me the chart and I'll tell you the news, I mean, that's just kind of what we're seeing right now. And it doesn't look too bad. And in terms of like Archie or whoever was commenting about trying to buy in the liquidity and stuff. I always have this debate with myself, like when something like this happens out of nowhere, I activate in my mind again, like, oh, how should I try to buy with a credit card somewhere? Like, if you don't have dry powder, like where to hurry up and do that. And you remember, like, change now, you can do it, and it seems relatively straightforward, and it is, but you got to look in at the baked in fees that you're getting with that as well and determine if that's actually worth it for you. Because I could have sniped near the lows of that dip yesterday, which here we are again today, still at it. So you got to keep that in mind. Will are we going to just bounce right out of here or hang around for a week? Maybe you will have dry powder by then. So be careful, I would say to people, about looking into the credit card options that are out there, because you're going to get, like, change now, there's like an 8% fee. And that was whether I was buying Ethereum, Pulse directly, which they don't even have enough liquidity to even, it only was like letting you buy like $300 or something. So whatever you're buying, there's like a baked in fee of 8%. And once you figure all that stuff out, you figure out if your credit card company is going to call it a cash advance, maybe instead of a regular charge, you might have a couple of gigantic fees on your hands, and it may not have even been worth it to do. So that's just kind of me talking about my experience trying to snipe the lows if you don't have dry powder, but it may not always be worth it to do that, is all I'm saying.
Did you hear about, I don't know what was going on. Yes, I guess yesterday was, it was yesterday was the 24th. Did you catch here, let me share this just in case anybody saw it. This is the wrapped pulse on Ethereum chart.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Why were people buying the wrapped pulse up? Like it shot up like crazy. It shot up yesterday. I don't remember what time it was, but I mean, it was up 58% at one point.
Yeah, so I don't know what that was about. I saw people tweeting about that. I don't know if that was people mistakenly just buying it on, maybe not even, I mean, obviously it'd be mistakenly, but not knowing what they're doing or knowing how to get the PulseChain and buying it. Yeah, that's what I have to think it was. Yeah, it went to
maybe. What's that? You cut out.
It went to sack rate or above it, I believe.
It went above. Yeah, it went above sack rate.
Yeah,
it went way above it. So, yeah, I just didn't know if you had heard anything. I guess someone's Brandon says it's because the bridge was clogged.
Yeah,
people were trying to buy it over there. So, yeah, the liquidity is I don't know what the liquidity is like over there. Can we see that? It doesn't really show it on here, so I would have to. No, it doesn't show. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought that was very, very interesting. And
I just saw this comment earlier. The digital donkey, both Richard and Hex can be locked up for 15 years.
I saw that. I did see that too.
I didn't see that too. No, the RA's question.
It is not a scam. So it's wrapped pulse. So it is pulse that has been sent over from PulseChain to the Ethereum chain to kind of strengthen liquidity. So if you buy wrapped pulse on the ETH side and send it through the bridge over to PulseChain, it will unwrap it for you. So it's not a scam. Make sure you have the right ticker, obviously. Double check the contract address, because I'm sure there are some fake ones out there, but it is real pulse. It's just been wrapped and moved over to Ethereum. So hopefully that helps. Check the contract address though.
And in a pinch, much like these people yesterday, you can buy that on there before you bridge it over. I mean, I've done it before, actually. Like, if there's, rarely are there issues with the bridge, but obviously in a moment like yesterday, you could see why that would happen. And then, yeah, you could just, and plus ETH Gwei was like 6 or something late last night when I was looking. So
yeah,
still a horrible swap fee compared to PulseChain's fees. But if you wanted to buy WPLS on ETH and then just bridge it over, you always could. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Let's take a look here at just take a look at the hex chart, because it suffered as well, and it had a very similar retracement, but it went all the way down. It lost the penny status at one point at 0.008. So it's all the way back up to 1.5 cents. So essentially it did double from the bottom of this dip. You could have bought an easy double.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see this volatility for a few days. I mean, obviously right now, today has been a little bit less volatile than yesterday when you don't know where the knife's falling to. But once those bids got caught, and now we're seeing it at about a little over 50% of sack rate, I think we're probably just going to see some continued volatility here. And to your point earlier when we were talking, tomorrow's Monday. So, and again, we're right before Christmas, which is another reason I think a lot of this is happening. But, how many will that be? I'm with you. I wouldn't think that, Monday and someone just finds out about this and goes to sell. I mean, I don't think that just turning the page till tomorrow will make anything huge happen. But I think we'll see some volatility here over the next couple of days while people wait for news, wait for some other shoe to drop. Maybe there's could have positive news on the horizon of the SEC case, and that's why we're seeing this happen. So, yeah.
Yep. And that's what Beyond All just said too. He's like, what do you guys think about the incoming court decision that RH hinted to? This dip could be the last one before we shoot up. And you're right, it could. Never know when things are going to happen. I was kind of hoping that, well, I don't know what I was hoping for. I hope for a positive decision no matter what we get, but I kind of thought it would be after the new year, a little bit closer to the kind of changing of the guards situation.
Right.
But who knows if we get a favorable decision on, I don't know what kind of break for the holidays the judges take. I don't know what her schedule looks like at all either. So yeah, hard to say. But yeah, this, I think the idea about all this though, is if you do have dry powder, and you're kind of waiting, I wouldn't wait until the bridge backs up, because then it takes a couple of hours to get it across there. Get your money in place. At least if you don't need it, then you can always send it back. But you ideally want to have your dry powder in the place that you're, looking to snipe the prices from before it's actually time to do it. So yeah, just a heads up, when the bridge clogs up like that, it can take a little bit of time. And then, the people that were sitting there ready to go are going to snipe the prices that you thought you may be able to get.
And as far as the SEC news timeline, I was starting to doubt that we would be hearing anything by the end of the year, just because, Christmas is right in the middle of the week. It's just, and I figured it would be in January, but at this point, just that we're seeing all this right now is just making me feel like, again, the SEC knows something is imminent that is not in their favor, and they could know that and do this stuff now, and we all don't know about it until whatever, January 7th or something like that. So,
I don't know how well they do keeping secrets from people. I mean, obviously, I'm sure little birdies talk, but if the judge, it would be the judge's discretion. You know what I mean? She's the one making the decision. So if anybody leaked it, it was her.
Well, also, it maybe not even just that. Then also just they know, because they know they did a shitty job anyway. They suspect.
Well, that was pretty obvious from the day it happened. I mean, right. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much more on this. I mean, other than this is going to be us circling the wagons again. But I mean, overall, it's just another thing that's happened over the course of the last year of somebody trying to bring something down that's doing something that he's not coloring in the lines, so to speak. They don't like that, and they're going to continue to come after him. And, to differentiate, just again, what some people are saying is confusing the man with the product. And, as if we're sitting here with unwavering, blind faith that Richard is Jesus Christ and nothing will ever happen to him, and I would do anything he told. No, it's not about that. It's about obviously I value what he speaks for, but something happening to him personally and him defending himself is not the same thing as investing in these products in the blockchain. So remember those things separate, you know.
Yep, completely agree. And if you don't believe me, you know, I hate to say, you know, you clicked the button, you did that. So have faith and believe in what you're investing in. You know, the FUD does only go so far, right? And then it doesn't change the people that do believe. So
yep, I'm still here. Gonna still be here for a while. So
well at this point we're going down with the ship. That's my take on it. Is we're here and we're invested, and I have full conviction, so I'm here for the haul.
Absolutely agree. Well, this was cool. Just do a little pop-up after the news yesterday, and it kind of worked out too because we weren't really sure when to stream this week with Christmas falling on our normal Wednesdays. Yeah. So it was cool to just hop on now with the events of yesterday. So, and we had a lot of people show up. So thank you to all of you guys. Just kind of commiserating and talking shop with us and seeing everything that's going on. And St. Wolf came up and had a stream last night that I saw Sami and some other folks went on. It was good, and it's just cool to see people hanging out. And you know, every time something like this happens, it happens with the SEC announcement too. That's the cool power of this community, and another reason it won't die. Beyond Richard, it's been cultivated already. The cult, cultivated. It's already here. So
yeah.
You
know, one of the things I was thinking, maybe did you say you're busy Christmas night? Like later even that night,
like
evening?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. I wouldn't want to commit to anything anyway.
Well, I was thinking maybe just jump on and say hello to people that are like not doing anything or whatever. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see how the week goes.
Just chat with the people. I don't mind doing that.
Yeah. We'll see how the week goes. We'll see how things transpire. We don't have to make a decision now, but I thought it was good, you know, hang out with everybody and take the time where things are at. So
always good to see our familiar faces, and we appreciate it a lot. So
yes,
thanks for showing up, everybody.
Thank you guys. Merry Christmas. If we don't talk to all of you, we will see you again soon. So for Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boy Crypto, Creative Crypto live stream. See you guys.
Merry Christmas.